Trimmers that can take attachments are priced just a bit higher than those that don't, and for good reason. You don't need to buy an extra machine dedicated to one purpose, you just need to buy the attachment and for a lot less. However, you still need to maintain the one machine to keep it working well. But sometimes it's not your fault, as you're about to see with this one. In today's video, we're going to be taking a second look at this Troy-Bilt string trimmer. And the problem is that I was told that after a long time in storage, it now won't start. Just remember this, storage means your machine is idle, and that's when terrible things can happen to your fuel system. So I do believe in their description of the problem, but I would like to try and duplicate the problem just to make sure. Now I don't think they're lying, but what they see as a problem might be seen as something else by a different person. So right off the bat, the fuel in the tank doesn't appear to be fresh. So before we try and start it, I'm going to pour it out and then add my own fuel, which I know is fresh. Also, on a side note, the first real hurdle is making sure that the bulb fills with some fuel, and if it doesn't, it's probably not going to start. It wants to start, but I may have flooded the engine, so we'll try that again with no choke this time. So this is promising. I mean, at least it wants to start, but it won't stay running. If yours, however, doesn't want to start, then I would use a spark checker to ensure that the ignition system is still working. And if you confirm that there is spark, then the engine might be worn out and you need to use a compression tester to find out for sure. A reading over 120 psi would be pretty good in my book, and the higher the better, but you certainly don't want a reading less than 100 psi. Of course, the most likely suspect will be the carb, so next we'll take it off for an inspection. Also, while taking off the fuel lines, try and remember which fuel line goes where because it's going to be important later on. The first part we'll be taking off the carb is the pumping side, allowing us to inspect the pumping diaphragm. We want to make sure that these two flaps are not bent out of shape, which they aren't. But if they were bent, it would mean the carb wouldn't be able to pull fuel from the tank. Luckily, this one is not bent out of shape, so getting fuel to the carb is not our problem here. The next area we need to check on is the round screen in the carb. We're checking to see if there's a buildup of debris on it. If the screen is clogged, it'll prevent any fuel from moving through the carb, but that's not the case here. So at this point, we know that fuel is able to make it to the carb. Now we need to see if it's making it through it. That means we need to inspect the metering diaphragm, and what we see is not good. The diaphragm needs to be flexible, which it is. However, this one is a bit crooked, which could affect how it works. It's very difficult to tell, but if you focus on the metal disc in the middle, you'll see that it is crooked. And even though in a pinch, this one might still work, I think we need to replace it. So next, I want to take out the needle, the spring, and the rocker arm. That way we can inspect them. We want to make sure that the rubber tip on the needle is clean, which it is. If yours is not clean, try using some sort of cleaner and carefully remove any buildup from it. We then put some fuel on the screen to make sure it can pass through it, which it did. Now if it's not able to, then you'll need to clean the screen until it can. Once we're okay with what we've inspected, we'll then start the process of putting the carb back together. So of course, we will be installing a brand new metering diaphragm, which you can order by itself without having to buy the entire rebuild kit. And if you need this particular diaphragm, there should be a link to it below the video. But if you're going to source it by yourself, be very careful as these are not all the same. The main difference between them will be the length of the stem in the middle of the diaphragm. After that, there could be a difference in the number of openings along the edge. And if you do get the wrong one, the carb will either not work or it'll leak fuel. Of course, this would also be a great time to replace the brown purge bulb for a new one. Once they start to get some color like this one, there's no telling when it's going to break. The price of the bulb and the diaphragm are not that high, but if you want a better deal, buy them in bulk. Now you might be asking what you're going to do with the extra ones you don't need, and well, you can either keep them for next time or sell them and make some extra money. While we're here, this would also be a great time to replace the old fuel lines. Fuel lines don't last forever, but it does depend upon what they're made out of and the type of fuel that's being used in the system. So the first line I'll be running will be the one for the fuel filter, but it doesn't matter which one you do first. Just make sure there's enough line to reach the far end of the tank. It also doesn't matter which opening you use for the filter or the return line. I'm choosing to do it this way because it'll keep the fuel lines from crossing over and making it easier to install. Also, when installing the return lines, I typically push about an inch of line into the tank. This will keep the line from coming loose later on. Of course, you can make this line longer if you want to, but it's not needed. So when connecting the fuel lines, the filter line connects to the lower brass port. That means the return line will connect to the port closer to the bulb. Just be careful because if you connect them wrong, the carb will pull in unfiltered fuel from the tank. And if used like that for a long time, the screen in the carb will clog up. So when pressing on the bulb, fuel will come up the filter line, go into the carb, fill the bulb, and then leave and go back into the tank. And luckily for us, the fuel is flowing just like it's supposed to, so I guess it's safe to try and start the engine now. I'm having a tough time starting it, so I'll use the jump starter instead. Unfortunately, it doesn't want to stay running, and even though I could start to adjust the carb to try and keep it running, that's when I noticed the dirty fuel that was leaking onto the fuel tank. So at first, I thought it was coming from the tank, but on closer inspection, it's raining down from a higher location. Now to get a better look at it, we need to take off the rear cover, and that's when things get interesting. When I was removing the two bolts down by the bottom, I noticed that one of them seemed to be kind of loose, but I didn't think too much about it. And after taking off the jump starter portion, we can then get a view of the inside of the engine. And that's because this part is what seals the rear part of the engine. And if there is a leak here, the engine will have problems running and even starting. And as you can tell by this broken bolt, that would definitely be a good reason why it was leaking here. So I'm not sure what happened to it, but if I had to guess, I'd say someone installed this bolt with a little bit too much force and broke it. So what's my plan? Well, I intend on drilling out the rest of the bolt. I'll then chase the threads and then install another bolt. But for right now, I'm just going to put it back together and tighten the bolt the best I can and see what happens. As you could tell with the bolt tight again, the seal was doing its job. However, the vibration from the engine caused the bolt to come loose and caused the air leak to come back again. So I guess we'll be drilling and chasing that opening later on, and hopefully it goes off without a hitch. Now a good thread locker might be an easy way to fix this, but some of you may not agree with it. So my question is, would you just use thread locker to fix this, or would you do it the right way instead? Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or about your own projects, and I hope to see you in the next video.